I talk a lot about where teams are at, where teams are going, and there's some interesting stats when you look at it. You look at the stats across the NHL. So, looking at just purely goals for, and not taking into account necessarily games played, which I know skews the numbers a little bit, but there's some interesting ones. Like Pittsburgh's number one overall, of course. Rangers, Minnesota, Washington, Columbus, and then there's Winnipeg with 159 goals for in 55 games. They've had, actually, let's go by goals for per game. Winnipeg is eighth in the NHL in goals for per game with 2.9. The problem is the goals against, which is 3.1. So in terms of goals for per game, it's Pittsburgh, then the Rangers, then Columbus, then Washington. You'll notice all four of those teams play in the Metro Division, followed by Minnesota, then Toronto. I want you guys to think about this for a second, because there's been a lot of why would you talk about Toronto? They're number 6 in the NHL in goals for per game. Seventh Montreal, then Winnipeg, then the Islanders. So this gives you an idea of which teams are actually playing relatively well and not getting the goaltending slash defense they need. And then Edmonton is in 10th. Now, where it gets interesting too is Dallas is in 11th. So I heard it said last night when they were talking about Dallas during a Dallas Chicago game, well, Dallas isn't getting the offense they got last year. Okay, but they're still 11th. There's no reason to be where they are other than their goaltending not being any good. Chicago's 12th, St. Louis 13th, Ottawa 14th, San Jose 15th, Tampa Bay 16th. From here on is where it gets interesting. Anaheim is 19th in offense. So Anaheim's offense has not been great, but their goaltending's been very good. Their defense has been very good. Boston, offensively, have been bad. They're 20th overall, and that's not getting better. Philly's 21st. Calgary's 22nd, which is borderline criminal considering the young roster that the Calgary Flames have that they could put together. 22nd is just not going to get it done. The Kings are 23rd. Buffalo's at 25th. Now, I know Eichel's been out. I know they've had a lot of injuries over this season, and there's a lot of people saying that's why. I won't get into whether or not I think that's an excuse. It's where it is. The Canucks are 28th in goals for. And this is where other Canuck fans and I have a splitting of the ways in terms of opinions. I have said for this entire season, I do not see Sven Baertschi as a top 6 forward. And I don't. And this is part of the reason why. They don't have offense. Your offense should be from two places, your top 6 forwards and your top forward blue line. The top 4 they have on the blue line do not generate enough offense. The top 6 forwards don't anymore either. The Sedins, as much as I love Henrik and Daniel, they're pretty much done as offensive dynamos in the NHL. I don't think I'm telling tales out of class to say it. But in terms of where this team is headed, I think Sven Baertschi is not a top 6 forward, and that needs to be acknowledged. And they need to improve their top 6. That's why they brought in Louis Eriksson, who has not been good enough. Jannik Hansen coming back, he gets an immediate shot. But Hansen, on a contender, is not a top 6 forward either. He's third line. And then the only teams they're ahead of in goals for are Colorado and Arizona. So they don't really have any bragging rights, and they're tied in goals for with Florida and New Jersey. Now, goals against per game. Gotta reverse that. Washington Capitals are in first place, and they're 0.2 goals per game better than the Kings, who they beat today, than San Jose and Minnesota. Edmonton. So for all the Edmonton is whatever and Edmonton's defense sucks, I've heard that a lot this year. Edmonton's either got bad defense and fantastic goaltending, or Edmonton's defense is better than has been said it is. And I can honestly say their game today, they had very good defense. It was boring to watch, but that's part of good defense. Good defense makes a game very unexciting. Columbus is sitting in 6th. Their defense has taken a shot in the last 10 games. A lot of goals allowed by Bobrovsky, and there's some cracks starting to show with this team. The Ducks are sitting in 7th, Montreal sitting in 8th, Nashville sitting in 9th, and Chicago in 10th. Rangers, Boston, Florida is in 13th. So despite the fact that they can't score, Florida's being saved by their defense and their goaltending. Ottawa's 14th, Buffalo 15th, New Jersey 16th, Calgary 17th, Vancouver's 18th, and that's what's holding Vancouver in a lot of games is their goaltending. Now that that's started to fall back again, that they're falling down in the defensive category again. Tampa Bay is 20th. So if they were scoring goals, that 20th ranked defense / goaltending would be good enough, but they're not scoring enough goals. Toronto's 21st in this level, or in this picture, and this is why Toronto is, for me anyways, they're borderline to make the playoffs. They have to buckle down defensively. You have the Islanders in 22nd, Detroit 23rd, Pittsburgh 24th, Flyers 25th, Arizona 26th, Winnipeg 27th, St. Louis 28th, Dallas 29th, Colorado 30th. And let's get into shots against per game. So this is who's giving their team the best chance to win. Buffalo is allowing the most shots per game at 33.6. Arizona, then the Islanders, then Colorado, then the Maple Leafs. So this is where Toronto is again in trouble. 32.3 shots per game. And you consider just how many games Anderson's playing, you might understand a little better why Anderson's having more off games than on right now. It's not Anderson, it's the fact that he's facing 32 shots a night and doesn't really have a backup that Babcock has any confidence in. Pittsburgh is surprisingly sitting at 6th on this list with 32.3. Florida 31.5, Jersey 31.3, Blackhawks 31.1, and the Canucks at 31. So the Blackhawks are allowing too many shots considering they're in the playoff spot. Pittsburgh's allowing way too many shots. And that could come back to haunt them when playoff time rolls around. Now, power plays. Now, I've been told power plays, whatever, they don't make a difference. But there is the power play plus penalty kill, and that does make a difference. Because if your power play and your penalty kill are over 100%, that means your power play and your penalty kill are working to your benefit. If they're below 100%, they're working to your detriment. The number one power play in the league belongs to Columbus, 24.3%. Their penalty kills at 82.3, which adds up to 106%. They're doing very well. Toronto is second with 23.5%. Their penalty kill is actually better at 83.7, which means 107% for Toronto. So their special teams are pulling them up. So when Toronto doesn't get enough power plays, you got to start asking some questions. And speaking of getting enough power plays, Montreal today had a couple. They're sitting at 22.8 for their power play percentage, 79.1 for that penalty kill. So because their penalty kill isn't any good, their power plays don't really help them. They've had 176 power play opportunities, or 158 power play opportunities, 187 against them. That hurts, especially since their penalty kill isn't as good as their power play, or well, they offset each other. It comes out to, no, it's 101%, but again, that 79.1% is not something that's going to be beneficial to them come playoff time, especially against the Rangers, who, whether they're good or bad, the Rangers have enough guns on offense to break through a bad penalty kill. Pittsburgh's next with 22%, but their power play is 78%. Buffalo has 22.3%, but their penalty kill is 74%, so put those two together is 96%. Their numbers are hurting them. St. Louis has 22%. Their penalty kill, surprisingly, 83.5%, so they have 105% between the two. Tampa Bay, 21.6%, 80% penalty kill, 101%. Philadelphia has 102% between their power play, which is 21, and their penalty kill, 81. Calgary, 21 and 80, so 101 there. Anaheim, 21% penalty kill, 84% penalty kill, or 21% power play, 84% penalty kill, so 105 for the Anaheim Ducks. You go to the other end of the spectrum, the Detroit Red Wings have a power play running at 10.9%. Their penalty kill is running at a respectable 81.2, but put those two together, you get 92%. They've had 174 power play opportunities. They've been shorthanded 154 times. So they've had 20 more power plays and penalty kills, but they've allowed 10 more power play goals against than they've scored. And you wonder why Detroit's looking like they're going to miss the playoffs for the first time in a while. That'll kill you every time. The Vancouver Canucks, a power play of 14.4%, penalty kill of 79%, equals 93%, which equals no playoffs. In fact, of the bottom 10, the only ones currently sitting in a spot to be in the playoffs are the Sharks and the Senators, who both have 17.4% on the power play. The Sharks have 82.6% penalty kill, so that adds up to 100% exactly. The Senators, 83.1% penalty kill, so that adds up to 100.5%. So their bad power plays are being offset by a good penalty kill. So in terms of power play goals versus power play goals against, they're still in a positive. See, the Canucks are in a negative. Colorado has allowed 40 and scored 22. The Red Wings have allowed 29, scored 19, as I said, even though they get more power plays than they get against them. And it's one of those things that I look at when I look at where a team's at. It tells you a lot about where a team is at right now. Penalty minutes. So who's the most disciplined team? The Hurricanes are the most disciplined team. They've only got 313 minutes in penalties. And the Calgary Flames are the least disciplined team with 628 minutes in penalties. The Ducks are behind them with 617. So the truculence of 2007, still there in 2017. Tampa Bay is next with 595. And following that is Dallas with 578. And what's killing Dallas, too, not only do they have the fourth most penalty minutes, they have 175 power plays against them, 184 of them. So you go, hey, they're getting more power plays than they're allowing. But they're only killing 73.1% of the penalty kill. And the most important part of your penalty kill is goaltending. It all comes back to goaltending. So between their power play and their penalty kill, it's a total of 90.9% for Dallas. It is a sad, sad state of affairs in Dallas. They've allowed 47 power play goals, and they've scored 32. So in 53 games, the difference is 15 goals. That's huge. Huge. When you consider that they're already struggling at 5-on-5, and you allow that many more than you score, they have the same differential as Arizona does. Arizona's allowed 39 and scored 24. So again, this is one of those numbers I look at. I'm not an advanced stats guy by any measure, but it's one of those things I look at. So when people say that special teams aren't important, they absolutely are. Because a good power play can set up the rest of the game. A bad power play can kill the rest of the game. And vice versa. If you have a poor penalty kill, you're going to play a little more timid. You're not going to want to make that really brutal check just in case it seems interference, hooking, slashing, whatever. And then you're on the penalty kill and you know your team can't kill it, especially if you're a key penalty killer. One thing that was mentioned today in the Montreal game, Andrew Shaw has been in the penalty box over the last, I don't know how many games, I missed how many games, but they said 4 power play goals scored against Montreal while he's been in the penalty box over that period of time. And he can't afford to take penalties. And eventually, if Shaw's smart, he'll play differently so that he doesn't take those penalties. But part of his game is taking penalties because he plays on the edge. So again, it's just another way of looking at things. Goals for, goals against, the power play and the penalty kill combined. And it gives me an idea of who's playing really well and who isn't. I mean, I watch the games now that I have the Hockey Central package. But it's just that extra added layer on top of it. Like, when I look at Robin Lehner, for instance, and I know Buffalo fans are anti-Lehner because of the way that he's been since they got him and they gave up draft picks whenever they gave up. Lehner is a very good goaltender. At the start of the year, I said I don't know if Lehner is capable of being a starter in the league, but in terms of, let me go to save percentage. The number one save percentage in the league is Jimmy Howard with 934. He's still injured. Devin Dubnyk is next at 932. Robin Lehner's at 923. Lehner's got 1,000 saves on 1,084 shots. Dubnyk's got 1,104 saves on 1,184 shots. So the difference between the two, you might look and go, well, that's a huge difference. But it's the difference between Minnesota and Buffalo. Minnesota, contender up near the top of the league. Buffalo, been mired near the bottom since the start of the year. And Lehner's been facing a lot of shots. And, he's faced 100 less shots than Dubnyk, but Dubnyk's played 6 more games. So you got to look at all that. So again, this is part of how I decide who the good goaltenders are and who the goaltenders are that are possibly overrated. There's a lot to look at. I know that was part of my issue with Martin Brodeur over the years was that Brodeur would put up good numbers, but he also didn't face a lot of really high quality shots. Jersey always had a fantastic defense in front of him. So I always took any numbers he put up with kind of a grain of salt. So, it's one of those things. Anyways, let me know in the comments below which teams you think are going to turn it around and which ones you think are too high up and they're going to drop. I look at Toronto and say, you guys can't keep allowing this many shots. You can't keep playing Freddie Anderson every night. You're going to kill him. And Talbot, despite the shutout today for Edmonton, is he going to get a break anytime soon? Like, seriously, even if they make the playoffs right now, Talbot's just going to drop dead after game 3. Like, he needs a break. I don't think he's ever been played at any level as much as the Oilers are playing him right now. So it's got to be flattering to him, and at the same time, he's got to be like, can I get a bit of a timeout, just a little bit, just a little bit of a rest? And the Oilers look at the backup goaltender situation and go, no, you're good, you're good, it's fine. Sort of like Condon in Ottawa. Condon's bad games are starting to happen a little more regularly because he's playing too much, a lot too much. So hopefully Anderson takes back the mantle and Condon can get some rest, which he's earned with his play. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through here. And I will be back with more video goodness tomorrow.